Brian Powell of I Run Far here with Tim Tollefson after his third place finish at the 2017 UTMB. How are you there, Timmy?
Feeling pretty good, yeah.
You had another great run out there this weekend. How did it feel to, have run a really strong race last year and come back and just, photocopy it?
Yeah, I mean, can't be unhappy with it. And on paper, it feels like 2 third-place finishes are pretty comparable, but I am more satisfied with this one given the depth of the field and having the Francois and Killian finish in front, the kings of the trail world, being in such royalty on that podium is pretty special.
Yeah, I mean, you beat Xavier and Gediminas, who are both ahead of you last year.
I was sandwiched between 3 guys with 8 titles at this race, so that's pretty.
Did you absorb
crazy.
any
I'm hoping it rubbed off on me. When I passed Xavier, I kind of gave him a little rub. So maybe it'll pay off next year.
And you run Ludovic style. So did he give you any advice for presumably next year?
He hasn't, but I'll debrief with him. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I mean, yeah. Again, you started off conservatively, right? Where did you find yourself, through that first 50K?
So this year, I was kind of took the same approach as last year where I was running within my comfort level, but it was a little quicker than last year. I think I went through Saint-Gervais, Lake Contamine 15 minutes faster than last year.
Which is only 20 miles into the race.
Yeah,
right.
So it was already quite a bit faster, but I was feeling comfortable. And I think that was a testament to the training that I'd done leading into it. So, but then I was closer to the leaders through halfway, which was kind of the goal. I didn't need to be with the leaders, but I wanted to at least kind of feel like I had contact with them so that I knew what was going on, where I could kind of let it rip if I felt good towards the end, the second half.
Yeah. And then you come into Courmayeur, and you're in the top 10 this year.
Yeah, I know. Last year I wasn't in the top 10, so I proved your point that if you're in the top 10 at Courmayeur, then there's a good chance you could. Well, not good chance, but you're one of the few that might podium. And that was actually kind of tough to get into Courmayeur. I had a low point going up for Col de la Zane, and luckily I was running with Debo at the time, and he was really hiking very strongly. And I just told myself, okay, don't lose contact with him, which was tough. I was yo-yoing off the back of him, and he probably felt me ready to break. But he got me through kind of those dark, cold hours of the night. And then once we got into Courmayeur, kind of had a second wind a bit, got some coffee in me.
And that didn't feel like you guys were racing each other.
No, not at all. He wasn't trying to push the pace. He was just keeping a steady effort, running his pace or his race, executing it the way he had hoped. And I just was kind of having a low point and trying to stick with him. But it was nice with him. We pretty much just switched the lead and helped each other out a lot. He had some problems with his poles at one point. And we stopped and I was trying to knock his little button loose, so that he could extend the pole all the way. And I just having a friend out there was huge.
Yeah. And you were 7th place or so, and
I think we went in there either 6th and 7th or 7th and 8th.
So
when we got through there.
You had to do your move up between Courmayeur and La Folie again.
I know.
What is it about? You just can't wait to get to Switzerland. You got some chocolate stashed over, or
yeah, in the bushes. I think for me, I'm much better on the descents. And my weakness are the climbs. So what I like about this race is everything, all the main points of the race are descents. It finishes on a descent. You go into most of your big aid stations off of a descent, and so I kind of get my second wind going into those. And just like last year going into La Folie, I saw you and I felt like and I hit pavement. And once I hit pavement, my legs just remember what they're used to doing, and I just start to run. And so that was nice. But it's I don't know. I was in much better spirits this year. Yeah.
I mean, seeing you coming into La Folie, you're doing the same dance as last year, basically.
I know.
Paraphrasing, but
yeah. And I mean, we had tough early conditions though, going over. What was it? Col du Bonhomme. It was just spitting ice cold rain. Myself, Debo, and 3 Spaniards were together, kind of in this little group. Kind of felt like a Donner Party-esque voyage, where it's if someone got kicked out the back, it's I hope they survive. It was just one of those low visibility, spitting rain. Everyone's cold. I had my waterproof jacket, waterproof gloves on.
Really?
I'd never used that stuff before. But I honestly think that this was a year that if you didn't stay technically sound, you would pay the price from getting cold, getting wet, not being able to like maintain, functionality of your hands or your stomach.
Have you talked to Dylan after the race?
Yeah. So I think he suffered one of those consequences.
By not putting the gloves and gear on, hands got cold.
I know. Because
you don't eat.
Because when I was with him, I honestly thought and it occurred to me he's gonna be on the podium at the end of this race, and it made me excited. I wasn't at all I wasn't envious. I was more like, dude, this guy's gonna have the best race ever. And then he suddenly had this flip of a switch where his body kind of shut down, and I think it was because of that, maybe missing out on the gear. Yeah. But
you execute. You are.
I don't know.
You're 2 for 2. I mean, you've only run 200 milers, but they've been on this huge stage, and both times you've run the smart race and haven't made the mistakes.
Yeah, I think everyone has that capability if you kind of objectively look at what lays ahead. Don't go in guns a-blazing. And I think that a lot of us have the potential to execute well, planned out races and enjoy the process. And I think that's part of why, people are like, how are you smiling? Part of it is I kind of smiled to kind of shield my pain that I'm feeling. But
and it kind of reflects back at you, right?
Yeah, because then people smile at you and you're like, hey, this is awesome. So, it's not at all that any part of that race was easy necessarily. But I also think that when you are building momentum throughout a giant journey like that, it's more enjoyable than if you're holding on and just grasping for straws and just on the verge of an epic bonk, because I've been there and that sucks.
Trans-Gran Canaria?
Yeah. Cuatro puntos. But to your point, what's kind of disappointing is I've run 200 milers, I finished 200 milers, and I still don't have a belt buckle. So I show off. But I have some really cool statues.
You do. You have a nice backpack, a nice little.
I guess I could buy a belt buckle.
Yeah, you probably could.
They're probably not that expensive.
But probably not one in Chamonix.
No. Is Jared Hazen still selling his?
I don't know. So is it much planning a race as being flexible? How much is it rigid, and how much is it being prepared to deal with an adaptive situation?
I think it's important to at least kind of pencil in some ideas, but then definitely be willing to adapt in the moment. And I adapted a lot last night and the night before, where things that I thought were going to be how I had planned didn't necessarily play out that way. And so then in the thick of things, you just have to kind of roll with it and not let it throw you off your composure. Because once that happens, then you get a mental lapse, and you may go for an hour and not be drinking or eating, and then it really snowballs.
So do you have an example of that? Where did you have to adapt on the fly?
So let's see. One thing was going in all my training at Speedgo, I had stayed with one flavor of goo Roctane, and this thing Summit Tea was working for me. And I knew this is the one. I had some caffeine and I love it. And then 10 hours in, and maybe it was the cold, I just wasn't stomaching it the way I had thought. And thankfully my crew had a backup flavors, and just even something like that, flavor changes, was huge. Then I was okay, I can consume this again.
But you had prepared yourself to have, even though you had your favorite flavor,
yeah,
you had that fallback.
Yeah. And so there were some contingency plans, and then also in the moment, I wasn't able to get the calories in. So then at the aid station, it's okay, what can I take here that's going to supplement until I see my crew in 4 more hours? That's a long time where I can't implement my contingency plan. So I started, consuming a lot of soup. I was eating cookies off the table, just trying to, mitigate this, potential bonk that I could, definitely see on the horizon had I not been able to get stuff in.
Yeah.
Also with gear, I hadn't planned on using as much gear as I had, and then making the conscious decision. I'm the type of runner that I don't like to stop for anything. If I'm running with you on an aerobic run, if you stop to take a photo, it kind of bothers me. I'm just kind of that anal. I'm running, so I run.
Yeah.
And so
you're stopping your watch at the crosswalk.
Yeah, and standing there really upset, just waiting. I'm not running in circles. I just
okay. You draw a line somewhere.
And so there were a few points where I took off my pack and I was still hiking, but I was fumbling with my jacket, putting it on while still walking. I probably should have just stopped and taken the 30 seconds and been more comfortable. But putting on my jacket at key moments that I hadn't planned on, knowing that, hey, it's starting to rain. I don't know how bad it's going to be, but I don't want to risk getting wet. because that's going to turn to cold, and it's dark, and it's in the teens out here. Like it just I was trying to avoid those pitfalls and just kind of mentally stay engaged even when I'm starting to get sleepy. But I don't know. It's a work in progress. I only have two attempts at it, so I think there's, hopefully, if I can stay healthy, there's room for improvement. Or maybe I just need to sign up after everyone else has signed up and know who's on the list. And if Francois comes back, then just don't sign up.
He's pretty good.
Those two guys, it's incredible. And that's where, obviously, the results, like, I'm third. But in a sense, like, it's kind of like, I felt like I was up against just titans. Like how do you beat those guys?
You won the normal.
I won the
human division.
Yes, the human division. I was first place. But they're such down to earth, cool guys.
Like when you were in first, or when you were in third, when you moved into third, and you have Francois and Killian ahead of you, you're like,
at that point I was like, oh, third place is awesome for the day, and we still had like 6 hours of racing.
Yeah.
But I honestly was not thinking about, oh, let's go reel in Killian. No one says that. Like you don't leave an aid station and think, okay, like I'm gonna gobble that guy up.
No.
But it wasn't until I left a Triant and I was going up the climb, and I was actually running pretty hard because I was terrified that Xavier was right behind me. There was this thick fog, and I like turned around, and I saw a shot, like someone's silhouette, and I couldn't tell if they had a race number on. So I was like, that's him. Maybe it wasn't him, but I was like, that's 2 or 3 minutes behind. So I was just like booking it, and then I ran out of Triant, and someone said, how are you running? Like, you look way better than Killian and Francois. And I was like, and that was the first moment, like, how cool would that be if you did make contact with them? But they kept distancing themselves by the end, so I didn't stand a chance. But I don't know. It was a fun experience. I mean, who knows if they'll ever race again against each other? Like, maybe not. Yeah. But so to be a part of that, I mean, I've said it before, but it really kind of felt like trail royalty out there. And I don't know. I'm definitely I don't know, humbled to be amongst them, and feel, I don't know, gracious, or I feel grateful that I was able to, run the race I wanted on a day like that. Yeah. But
do you have anything else lined up on your schedule?
No ultras at the moment. I'm sticking to my 100 a year. And well, actually, no, I do have some cross country races coming up. So I'm going to go back to 5K, 8K, 10K cross country races this fall. Yeah. Ultras, I haven't penciled anything in, but I'm not opposed to something if it excites me. But honestly, at the moment, nothing is really interesting, like in the fall. Yeah. So, and I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah. So you had a good. This is a good season in like a weekend.
I feel like that's kind of how last year went too. Like it was the pinnacle event, the end of August, beginning of September, and then just kind of, not get, I don't know, don't get too greedy. Like I think it's easy to maybe bite off too much and then like pay the price of. Like,
there's a next year.
There is, and hopefully a year after that.
Yeah.
And a year after that. And maybe someday, like myself or one of the other Americans will stand here, and it will be the first male victory at UTMB. But that elusive title still
Thank
out there.
Thank you for qualifying that.
Yeah, I know. and just to be clear, like I've always clarified.
No.
But like I got thrown under the bus with all these like UTMB updates, and I'm like, no, I never said that. Like,
no.
But I think people understand. Like, but
yeah. I mean, so that is a motivator. Just talking to Jim, and like, because like a lot of times, like there can be these artificial outside contracts of like U.S. versus Europe or whatever, but it would be something no American man has ever done.
I know, and I mean, in a sense, that kind of will cement you as, a pioneer in a sense, like for that category.
And I know Zach was going for that last year.
I know.
Mean, like, and Sage was probably thinking. I mean, like,
yeah. And there have been greats before us in the mid to late 2000s that were going after that, and it's been elusive, and no one has been able to do it. And so it definitely is in the back of my mind. And Chamonix holds a special place. As the CCC was my first ever 100K, UTMB was my first ever 100 miler, and then I don't know. It's just it's a pretty cool place.
Nice. But, well, congratulations on building some great memories here.
Thanks so much.